All right, hey guys, and welcome to the live stream for tonight. And I'm excited to have you all with me. And we're going to talk a little bit tonight about beginner crappie fishing tips from a kayak. So you're going to want to stay tuned for this. But just to open up here, I'm going to wait for a couple people to get in here and see how we do. I know we probably have a few people that I know coming in here, like some of my regulars. So I'm looking forward to that. So I'm going to wait for a couple people to get in here, and until then, we're just going to chat fishing for a little bit. So a little bit about today. So today, I had planned on going out crappie fishing today, but unfortunately, the weather just didn't cooperate. And if you've ever been fishing in a kayak, being in a storm in a kayak is way different than being in a storm in a boat, and it's much more difficult. So, yeah. But, you know, you got to always be safe whenever you go out fishing, especially in a kayak. So, you know, like when you go fishing in a kayak, like being stuck in a storm is a huge deal. And I have actually like a little story I'll probably tell here in a little bit. What's up, JTH Outdoors? Good to see you here tonight. But like, I have a really good story about being stuck out in the middle of the lake during a storm. And I'll probably share that later in the live stream once a couple more people get on. But yeah, man, I tell you what, it was a rainy day, and you know, sometimes like the forecast can be, you know, iffy, and fortunately they got it right today, because when I looked at the forecast today, originally, like, I looked at the forecast where I was going fishing, and I looked at the forecast here. It said it was going to start raining around the same time. Set around 11 o'clock. So last night I get home from work, I start setting up my gear, start getting everything ready. And when I was getting everything ready, I realized that, you know what, like, I probably ought to look at the weather. So I looked at the weather, and the weather was saying that it was supposed to start raining or storming around 11, and it was supposed to basically storm all day. So my original thought was, you know what, I will wake up super early and go out there and go fishing for crappie. But one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to be rushed. I hate being rushed to fish. It takes a lot of the enjoyment out of it for me. So whenever I woke up this morning, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And when I woke up, I was like, I'm going to look at the weather. And when I looked at the weather was exactly the same. So the weather said that it was supposed to rain 11 to noon or so. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk it. I'm not going to go out there and risk my life on the lake if it's going to storm. Have thunderstorms, lightning, all that stuff, because you don't want to get caught out in that in a kayak. So I chose not to go today. My original plan was to film a little bit of content for this live stream, but I wasn't going to reschedule the live stream once everything changed with the fishing trip today. So I still have a lot of good content, a lot of good knowledge to share with you guys, and I am not a great crappie fisherman. Let's just start out with that. Like, I am back to the basics, but I think what happens a lot of times is people get really intimidated by crappie fishermen. They, like, you see all these people, they say, oh, you got to have this certain rod or this certain line and these certain jigs, and I feel like they overcomplicate it a lot of times. And especially from a kayak, like, it doesn't have to be super complicated. So what I would challenge you all is, if you've never done it before from a kayak, or you're intimidated by doing it, please take these tips, and I want you to get out there and try fishing for crappie from a kayak. And I thought I had everything ready, but you know what? In true RHINOjoe Outdoors live fashion, I forgot my notebook. All right, so I'm going to try to go off memory, and hopefully I'll get all this right, because I kind of had an outline of like what I wanted to talk about. So we'll see. Yeah, Jonah, JTH Outdoors. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story before I get started here. So one time I was out on Taylorsville Lake, and anybody that knows that lake, like, I was like out past the main marina. I turned to the right and I went way down. I was almost to the dam, and I was I wasn't on my Jackson, or I wasn't on my native rather. I was on my Jackson kayak, so I had a paddle. And man, this storm just started. It was summertime storm, just started blowing in, and I was like, all right, I'm okay, I'm okay. And I heard some thunder, and man, like I was paddling, and I mean, if you've ever been fishing a kayak, especially bass fishing, I keep a bunch of rods back there. I look like I'm like trying to signal aliens or something with all those rods back there. It looks like I got about like 10 antenna back there, about to communicate with Russian spies or something, and those are all like lightning rods in my mind. And man, this lightning hit like one of the trees on the bank. I swear it did. And I mean, it scared the crap out of me. And so I was like, what do I do? What do I do? So I quickly went over to the bank and I was like, I'm not staying out on the water. I'm going to get over to the bank and at least like hunker down close to the bank around like one of the lower trees. And I mean, it was like 30 minutes of just like really intense storms and lightning, and it was just really bad. And so I waited the storm out. Fortunately, like it ended up stopping, and after it stopped, like I was like, I'm not even going to try to fish. I'm going back to the boat ramp. And I actually did end up stopping storming that time. But I felt really fortunate that like I didn't get hurt. And the thing is, on a kayak, like you can't go anywhere fast. If you get stuck out there, you're stuck out there. So you got to be extra careful on a kayak. Extra careful. So I mean, it was a super long way, and I really should have paid more attention to the weather. But anybody who's been in the southeast in the summer knows like we have these little pop-up storms sometimes. And I kind of took a gamble because they were calling for storms that day, and I was like, it looks nice outside, and got caught out in it. So it was not very fun. But that just goes to show you that you don't mess with the weather. So that's why I didn't go out today. And as Jonah said, the weather was terrible today. It started raining around 11:30 or so, and then it just like stormed and stormed and stormed, and would have a break and then start storming again. I kept thinking I was going to go for a jog today, and I was never able to go. But I was able to get a lot done today. So I actually like installed a new exhaust on my SUV. I changed the oil. I did a little bit of work around the house. So as you can see here, like I got another wall painted. So this wall last time in the live stream was not painted. So I got that wall finished. I still got a lot to do in here, but I wanted to get this like corner done first, where I have my desk set up. And I put my desk on caster wheels today, so I can kind of like roll it around if I need to kind of like change my position down here. So cool stuff going on. So let's get started with beginner crappie fishing tips from a kayak. So number one is just don't get intimidated by it. Like guys, like it's really not as bad as it seems. You don't need a ton of gear. You don't need a ton of equipment. You don't need specialized rods and all that stuff to get started. All you need is some basic equipment, and you can get started fishing for crappie from a kayak. So I'm going to discuss a couple of the things that like I like to use. But when I got started out fishing from a kayak, like I just used like, it was like a Berkeley amp rod. It's like a really cheap rod, but some of the like the cherry wood rods. Let me pull this up here. All right, so here you have some of these like Berkeley cherry wood rods. I mean, they're super cheap, but like man, like these rods are actually pretty great for fishing from a kayak. You don't really need like all the super long rods like you see everybody use on, big old spider rigging. I do have some of those just because I tested them out, but really like one of these can get you by, and you can just get it in like a medium light action, and you you can do a lot with it, and super affordable, $24.99, and then just get you a cheap spinning reel, and once just throw that cheap spinning reel or cheap casting reel on there, and then just spool it up with some 6-8 pound test monofilament crappie fishing line, and you're ready to get started. So it doesn't have to be super duper difficult, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't get into it because they feel like they have to have all these like ACC crappie sticks or something like that. So if like JTH Outdoors, I use the Ugly Stick Elites and love them. So like those Ugly Stick rods, they're great because whenever you talk about fishing for crappie from a kayak, you don't have to get super like complicated. So when it comes to like rigging, you can literally have like a drop shot or a split shot and tie a little Aberdeen hook on it with a minnow, and that'll get you started. So let me see here. So I'm actually going to do a little surprise here. I'm going to do an unboxing today on this live stream. And so let me get everything. I'm really not good with this live streaming software yet. Well, let's do that. All right, so I was going to talk a little bit about the baits that you can use for fishing for panfish and crappie from a kayak. So I actually got this mystery tackle box panfish and trout kit, and I kind of wanted, like, my original plan was to try this out during the white bass run, but unfortunately, like, the last like 2 times I went out, like the fishing wasn't that great, and I didn't want to like give this thing a bad review just because of that. So I'm actually going to use this on my next crappie fishing trip. So let's open it up here. Let's see here. Get this sucker open. This tape on here is pretty good. Alright. It says happiness in a box. Alright, we can get rid of that there. Alright. Alright, so let's see what's in here. Guys, we got the Dibble tips and tricks with Earl Dibble's, or KV, what is it? KVD? It's like Carl Von Dibble or something. Got a sticker here, I think. And then, ooh man, look at here. Got some of my favorite baits. These are the Bobby Garland baby shads. It's one of my favorite crappie baits, and it says they're in baby shad. It's kind of like a green color with like a pearl white on there. That's super cool. I'll definitely probably use those the next time I go out. We'll set these over to the side here. We got some slab collars. Not a shot collar, but rather slab collar. Those are little like little hand-tied like hair jigs. 1/16 ounce. That's like one of the more common size. We got some just like some basic little like crappie fishing tubes in pink and white. Ooh, we got a little, I mean, this is probably more of a trout fishing bait. I'll give it a try. It's kind of like a vertical jigging minnow. It's got the eye on the very top there. But, hey, we'll try that out next time we go out. We got, what in the world? Look at these little things. Lip rippers. They look like little sperm. Like little green sperm. Ripper rats, 1 inch. Poison apple is the color. So, man, those are really interesting. And then we got like a rodeo fish sticker here. So some cool little baits in there. In this little And just because I've seen other unboxings, like I know what this little guy is. You got this little dibble tips and tricks. Let's see here. So you got this. It goes into like some fun facts and just a little bit about tying knots and, you know, different basic fishing stuff. So I'm going to throw all that stuff back in the box here because I plan on using that whenever I go out next time. There we go. So we'll set that to the side. So whenever it comes to baits, I keep it pretty simple. So we're gonna. I love the Bobby Garland stuff. So you got Strike King Mr. Crappie baits. Those are good baits. This is in like, it's basically like the monkey milk color that you've probably heard me talk about before. But they call it Glimmer Blue. I've got some Bobby Garland baby shad swimmers here in like a pearl color. I love the Bobby Garland baby shads. Basically, like this chartreuse color is called Key Lime Pie, is a great color. This bluegrass color is like a blue and a green in the baby shad. And then my ultimate favorite, which you can see here I'm almost out of, is the monkey milk. But you can also get like Panfish Assassin. These little baits work. I've gotten some of these little Panfish Assassin little swimmer guys, and they've done really good for me also. So, you know, using any of those soft plastics can really help you out. But let's, whenever I was talking earlier about so we're going to pair those up with the jig head. I'm currently working on this, so it's not the best as far as like organization goes, but this is one of my newer tackle boxes. It's the Academy box. I actually did like a little video on it, but it's kind of like the the bait coffins that are sold by Bass Mafia, but it's really thick plastic here. It doesn't crack, and then it's got these really nice dividers in here. I like the color scheme. But one thing I need to do is usually I'm really big about putting labels on all my stuff. So like you can see where I've actually cut the labels off of the jig heads that I put in here, so I remember what size they are. You would think that I could probably remember it by now. But so like here you have some 1/16 ounce jig heads. These are like 1/8 here, and then I even have like a 1/4 ounce, but these are the ones I usually use down at Falls of the Ohio for fishing for like sauger and stuff. I've got some like little bobbers in here, bobber stops. I've got some crappie nibble things in here. I've got egg sinkers. I've got, and so like I've got egg sinkers in different sizes, but 1/2 ounce is one of my favorite sizes. 3/4 ounce. You've got over here is my 1/4 ounce. So, and then here we got another key part is the swivel. Just a basic swivel. This is in a size 10. So a size 10 swivel, kind of smaller swivel. Let's see here, put that back in there. I do have some of these tri-way swivels, and originally when I got these, the reason why is because I wanted to try to use these to troll crankbaits. So you can have your main line tied to here. You have off the bottom, you could have like a big heavy like 1 ounce or 2 ounce weight, and then off here you can have your crankbait. But I've actually never tried it. Maybe I'll try next time I'm out. We'll see. Then I got some like little crappie crankbaits in here. Really need to finish this out. Like I've got some like a little bit of hodgepodge of everything with some rooster tails, but really like this is my like pan fishing and like other fish kind of box, you know, other fish, other than bass fish. But you know, whenever it comes to rigging, like really I don't have any in here. Actually, I ran out of split shot, and the thing is like I went to Walmart today and they were completely out of split shot. But you can start out something as simple as simple Aberdeen hook. So here is an Aberdeen hook. It's just like really skinny kind of hook here. This is a number 2. This is a size 2. And when you can even go get them, like these are just them in the package from the store. So you got some little Panfish Aberdeen bronze hooks in a size 4 and a size 2. So, you know, contrary to popular belief, I'm trying to see if you can see in here. Yeah. So, contrary to popular belief, if you look at this one, scoot my hand over, and then you look at this one here. So that's just the difference in the size of the hook between a size 2 and a size 4. And I usually like to use the smaller of the two. And the reason why is because I usually use these when I'm using live minnows. And I actually did a video on rigging live minnows. I'll eventually link that down below in the description once I publish this video to YouTube. But it just allows the minnows to swim a little bit. And it allows them to kind of like swim around the area. But, you know, it just gives them a little bit more freedom. I don't know, I just feel like it works better. But sometimes if you're fishing in some really thick cover, you might want to use those thicker hooks just because it'll allow you to yank bigger fish out of the cover. So, if you can find some split shots like JTH Outdoors, like you better hold on to them because they are worth a lot of money. And I'll tell you what, they're really hard to find. So, if you can find them, use them. You can always use a jig head to rig up a minnow if you want to do it that way. So you can even tip your jig. So let's say you want to fish this here. Let me see if I can find something. Let me see. So, you know, like I said, you don't even have to get super complicated with it. So let's say you want to just fish this jig head. You can put a minnow directly on that jig head and catch fish on it. So literally tie your line to this with your favorite knot, put a minnow on there, and drop it down to the fish and catch fish. You can put, you know, you can put one of these soft plastics on your jig head. You can put that on there, and then you can put a minnow on there also. So people call that like tipping the jig, I guess you'd say. And you can put that on there. And then you have a minnow and a jig. So you don't have to get super complicated, guys. Don't let crappie fishing from a kayak intimidate you because anybody can do it. If I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Now, one of the key parts of fishing for crappie really is just finding them. You know, like that's where I consider a sonar to be pivotal just because like you got to be able to find the fish. If you, let's say you don't have a sonar and it's the middle of summer and you are out crappie fishing, find a tree in what you would assume to be about like, you know, 14 foot of water or more and pull up right next to it, clamp up to it, tie off on it, whatever you got to do, and jig down. Let your bait sink all the way to the bottom and then slowly reel back up. You'll reel up like a reel, maybe bring it up about a foot, let it sit there, and just hold it steady. Reel up a little bit more. And what you're trying to remember is how many times you've reeled up from the bottom, so then you can just reel up directly to that point if you catch a fish. So let's say you reel up 1 reel, 2 reels, 3 reels, and then you catch a fish. So then the next time you're going to know that those fish are at least, you know, probably in that area. So even if you don't have a sonar and you're next to this tree, you can literally drop all the way to the bottom, reel up 3 times, and then just let it sit there, and you're probably going to catch more fish. So, like, don't overcomplicate it, but having a sonar really does help finding these fish just because, you know, like, being able to see the fish on your sonar can, like, really help. Let me pull up some stuff here. Help you out. Alright, sit back to the side there. You don't have to get super complicated with your crappie fishing tackle, guys. Alright, I'm pulling up some just images here. Alright, here, let's do this. Alright, so all I did here was just search crappie on a sonar, and if you look at this, what this is a picture of crappie on a tree in sonar, and you can just see it's like loaded with crappie. So whenever you're going out and using sonar, I really think that having a sonar and using it to find crappie is one of the easiest ways to learn how to use it. Just because like when you find a school of crappie, they're going to look like I don't know, like a bubble usually. If you find bass, they're usually going to be like specks, like bigger specks on the bottom, but crappie kind of go in like a bubble. See how they're like in that, when I showed you that picture, let's go back here. So see here how they're like bubbled up. They're bubbled up like around that tree. And that's usually how crappie kind of look. They're going to be schooled in that kind of a manner. And, you know, you can see on the picture of the sonar, you can see like the depths. You got like, so they start about 14 foot all the way down to about 24 foot. So if I saw this on my sonar, if I saw that on my sonar, I would immediately go to about 18 foot, 16 foot, something like that, and start fishing for those crappie, just because I feel like that would give me the most probability of being able to catch fish. So like, just don't, like, you don't have to have a sonar to fish for crappie, but it's going to really help you guys out. You know, there are some great resources on YouTube about crappie fishing. Barfly fishing is one of them. 903 fishing is another one that I really like to watch. Kid Crappie. You know, some of them, like, they fishing for crappie in different situations. Like around here, it's mostly going to be timber based. They do a lot of like dock shooting and stuff like that too, which I don't really get into around here just because of where I fish. But being able to fish for crappie is like really nice, just because one, it can really like add value to your day. Just like, I usually take my crappie stuff with me just in case. And sometimes if you have a crap day fishing for bass, like, you can probably go out and catch at least a few crappie. And I love eating crappie, man. They are delicious. If you never had some golden crispies, man, like, I did a video on how to cook some crappie in some different recipes. Let me pull it up. Alright, so if you go to my channel here, and this is my main channel here, and you go down here to the bottom under creative playlist, I've done a couple of videos down there on like cooking. I'm not like a huge like cooking channel or anything like that, but I did a couple videos on how to cook crappie, and if you click on that playlist, oh man, I don't want to play them. Getting ads on ads. This one here, my secret to delicious fried crappie. Thank you, ads. I'm going to show you guys two different ways that I fry up crappie, and it's just classic fried fish. But I'm going to show you something that I do that's probably a little bit different that makes this fish just taste amazing. I mean, you hear that crispy crunch? I mean, dang, son. Dang. You hear that? You hear that? I mean, that's some delicious stuff. But if you haven't seen those videos, go check them out. I just like to experiment around. I have a really interesting idea that I'm going to try next time. I don't know whether it's going to be great or not, but I'll probably post the video anyways. Kind of have a plan for my next cooking video, and I'm excited for it. But it gives you a great opportunity to be able to catch fish that are delicious to cook. My kids even ate some, which that's saying my kids will not eat fish, and they ate some. Now, I think my daughter would probably cry herself to sleep if she knew that I killed a critter to put that on the table, just because that's how kids are these days. But you know, it's a great time. I love catching them, and it's a lot of fun. And like, I know people, like, I love fishing for bass, but man, like when you drop down and you get on crappie, you can literally catch a bunch of fish, and it's just like a thump whenever you feel the bite. And so that's where, you know, like, if you're confused about like fishing for crappie and like what the bite feels like, I'm just going to tell you guys, like, you can drop down, and if you're around fish, it's just going to feel like a thump, or you're going to see your line move off, and that's what it's going to look like. So, you know, like, I don't know, it's just different than bass fishing. It's really different, but it's a lot of fun, and I would implore you, if you've never done it before, get out there and give it a try. I do have quite a few videos about fishing for crappie. I have some about spider rigging, some about like the 2-jig rig. So check those videos out. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. If you've never crappie fished from a kayak, say you never crappie fished. Like, I just kind of want to get a little bit of chat started here and talk with you guys, talk fishing. It doesn't have to be crappie fishing. Let's just talk fishing. Shoot. Hey guys, don't forget, please give this video a like if you haven't already. It really helps me out. These live streams are something new for me, and I know I'm not the best at it, but I'm giving it my best try. So that's all you can do. And yes, Jonah at JTH Outdoors. Once you catch a few crappie, it's really addicting. It really is. When you figure them out, like, I don't know. It's something about that's different about targeting a specific fish and catching it. You know, like when you go out and you're like, I want to catch crappie today, and then you catch a mess of crappie, it's really rewarding. It's not just like catching everything in the pond or everything in the lake. It's going for something specific, especially when you've not done it before. Like, if you never tried it before, it's really fun, but just because, like, catching something that you've never done or caught before is like super fun. And like just figuring out the fish, like, you know, I feel like a lot of times it's really intimidating when, especially if you are looking up a lot of crappie fishing videos, like how to fish for crappie. If you search that on YouTube, 90% are going to be these nice boats with like the spider rigging set up or the Garmin live scope where they're like seeing the fish and casting straight to them. And you're like, well, I got to have that to fish for crappie. I got to either have the spider rigging or I got to have, no. You can literally do it with one pole, basic ugly stick with some, 6-8 pound test monofilament spinning line, or monofilament line, and you can get out there and start catching them. So don't let that intimidate you if you're looking at crappie fishing, especially if you're fishing from a kayak. But even if you're fishing from a boat, don't let all those videos get you intimidated. They're like super, there's tons of information on there on the internet about like how to find them, and that's how I learned how to do it, is I researched it. Like growing up, that's how, like we would go fishing. Like, my dad had a few spots on some lakes that we'd go to on the boat, and once we'd get out there, we'd drop our lines down, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but like, you know, you kind of guess the depth. We didn't have all the fancy sonar and all that stuff, like, but it was just a lot of fun catching them, and they're delicious fish to eat, and they are like just really fun to catch, and like it's just something different to do, especially when this past year, year and a half, 2 years, like I feel like bass have been beat to death. Like bass have had a very tough year. So if we go back over here, let me go back. I should probably get better at like multitasking, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. Let's see here. Let's go to uploads. Let me transition here. So looking here, so I did quite a few videos here on crappie fishing on the channel. If you haven't seen them, I did one on keeping your minnows alive. That's another tip. There is just if you're going to be fishing for crappie, like invest in a good minnow bucket. Like I have that one, that Frabble one, and it's got like the little bubbler in it so that it keeps those minnows alive. In the wintertime, that's not a huge deal, but in the summer, it really is. And another tip is like if you are keeping minnows, like you can throw a water bottle in there with, frozen water, and it's going to help keep it cool because those minnows don't like really hot temperatures. But we got some huge beginner crappie fishing mistake. I did it. That's a good one. That's about the type of hooks that I was using. I did this secret fried crappie secret. I've got fully cooked crappie sushi. I've got crappie spider rig. I've got all kinds of different stuff on here. So I know I've got like a hodgepodge of content. And when you look at my channel, like I've got it's all about like like crappie fishing and bass fishing, sauger fishing, and usually the majority of it's from the bank or a kayak. So, like here we got 3 hooking methods, 3 ways to rig live minnows for crappie. I mean, there is quite a bit on my channel to check out if you haven't already. And that's just going to help you guys, like if you've never done this before, hopefully that helps you guys out. I probably should have a crappie fishing from a kayak playlist. That'd probably be a smart thing to do, Ryan. Way to go, RHINOjoe. But it's been a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, guys, if you try it, you're not going to regret it. You're going to end up getting out there and you're going to get addicted to it. And I tell you, you don't think so? And I mean, they're like, oh, it's crappie. Like, I really like the bass fish. And, I tell you what, man, crappie fishing from a kayak can be one of the best things that you ever did. I'm telling you right now, sometimes I find it hard to fish for bass just because I want to fish for crappie so bad. And it's so addicting. So, guys, if you haven't tried fishing for crappie, get out there and give it a try. And hey, Daniel, welcome to the stream. We're getting ready to wrap it up here. I need to rig up a rod here. But if you're wondering how I'm rigging that up, I've actually did it in my spider rigging video. So go check that video out. And I guess that's actually what's right here is a rod, the last rod that I need to rig up for the next time I go out fishing. So guys, I appreciate you guys tuning into the live stream, and appreciate you all interacting. And if you guys haven't already, go check out JTH Outdoors. I actually ran into him when I was crappie fishing. He was in his Hobie kayak, and I was in my native Slayer Max Propel, and we talked quickly about fishing. Like he can straight catch them too. Check him out on Instagram. He actually went to a couple camping trips here recently, and he's been noodling, which is something I've never done. But he's been out noodling, and Daniel, love you too, bro. But he's been out noodling, catching crappie. So go check him out and give him a like over on his Instagram. Go like some of his videos over on YouTube and subscribe to his channel. He's a super cool dude. But, you know, as always, guys, don't forget, get outside, do something awesome, and take somebody with you if you get a chance. And go check out one of my other videos, because I tell you what, some of them are super cool. I mean, I'm at least trying to make them cool. I mean, they're kind of cool, right? Yeah. So, go check them out. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to contact me on Instagram or Facebook. You know, send me a DM on Instagram, and I try to get to all those and help you guys out as much as I can, especially when it comes to crappie fishing. But get out there, try to go crappie fishing if you've never done it before. I'm sure you're going to like it. You're going to get addicted, and I'll see you in one of my other videos. Peace.